Most people would agree that to heckle at a cortege where there's members of a family that are literally grieving because they're following the coffin of their mother is possibly in bad taste, and that maybe there's a time and a place and that this might not be it. But I just cannot understand for the life of me how a country which still holds itself up as something of a beacon to the rest of the world about the idea of pluralism and about tolerance and about, discussion and debate and healthy civil liberties, that somebody who's even peacefully holding up a sign, let alone barracking or doing something in bad taste, holding up a sign will now get you arrested for being a breach of the peace. It's kind of mad. There's a time and a place, and it might be in bad taste, but since when did it become illegal to hold up a sign saying, I don't agree with this?
Or a sign which actually didn't say anything whatsoever, as one barrister did. They held up a blank piece of paper, and very much it was a situation where the police came over and was like, oh, what would you do if I wrote, not my king or something like that? It was like, well, we'll have to arrest you. So,
why?
Well,
why would they have to arrest them?
I think that's quite, I don't understand that.
Off the thing.
Yeah.
But there's one thing which actually... And I was listening to a different podcast, a very popular podcast, I think it was Empire by that historian, William Dalrymple. And it was basically about the fact that there's been no discussion around the legacy of empire in Britain over the time, and that it's just shut down as wokeism and, this sort of thing. It's like you're talking Britain down. It's like for so many countries around the world, the legacy which Queen Elizabeth represents is one of the worst and most painful living memories. So there's so much talked about even for the fact that Queen Elizabeth was in Kenya when she found out that she was going to be the Queen of England. Yeah. And it was literally within the start of her regime that there was a huge clampdown and there was horrible crimes committed in the name of that monarchy. The crown and the sceptre with which King Charles will be coronated contains diamonds which were effectively looted from South Africa, which cost hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds. There's been no real discussion around any of that, but there has been discussion now around the question of free speech and whatnot. But it's such a strange thing that there is no...
I think there will be those discussions, but I do think, well, again, I just think from coming back from the UK, I suppose just the sentiment there at the moment is sort of kind of the point you made there that a family is grieving. Yeah. I think that seems to be, and I think that there will probably be space, there will inevitably be space, I should say, for those conversations.
Yeah. I would actually disagree because I don't think Britain has ever held space for those conversations.
I think they may have to, though.
They may have to.
I think they may have to.
I think actually, it's actually an interesting point because Charles has actually showed himself potentially more open to these discussions. He's talked about slavery and the fact that the British royal family has itself over many, many centuries has continued to have that line of wealth which has resulted from the transatlantic slave trade, and he's talked about things like that when other people in Britain probably haven't.
Well, Princess Eugenie has a podcast, an anti-slavery podcast, and I've actually never listened to it, but I know that she has worked on an anti-slavery project and has a podcast in relation to that.
Interesting.
I think if they don't have that debate now, I don't know if they ever will, because it would strike me that one of the reasons why you would shirk away from it is because it would seem disrespectful to the pensioner who's on the throne, who is supposed to be your majesty, and that if she's your sovereign, that it would seem like you were slurring to her.
Now, though.
But if it is a different pensioner, precisely, that it's not someone who maybe commands affection in slightly the same way as she did.
All right.